Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Thursday edition of Raw Light. We're going to add Seraphis on here real quick. And we'll get started. All she has to do is accept it. Pretty simple stuff.
Hey, look, there's me.
Yeah, there's you. Hi.
I'm always surprised when it manages to look like that.
What, when it works?
Yes. I was trying to share your promo earlier. I did it like 4 times before I finally got it right. I was like, oh my goodness.
Well, that's okay. I went to the doctor today for one of my checkups, because of the surgery. And while I'm there sitting in the waiting room, the electricity goes off. So the nurse comes in with a flashlight and she goes, "Are you guys okay?" And we're like, "Yeah, we're fine. We have our phones lit up, And then they're kind of like, "Okay, so you can come in, and so we're gonna have to do you one at a time. We're going to this waiting room. It's the only one with a big window where you can actually see because of the sun." And then, of course, they had to do everything, the old-fashioned way instead of using the machines for the blood pressure and all that. So it was funny.
Right.
But they just rolled with it. It was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
So let me tell you, what time is it? Because I'll tell you why I'm late.
You're only a couple minutes. It's 7:38.
Okay, that's not too bad for me. So I'm sitting on the couch and I'm watching a show that I haven't seen in a couple of weeks, just catching up. And I'm like, boy, Anne's not home yet. I already made supper. The dog's out. Let her back in. Everything's fine. And I just happened to look at the clock and it said 7:30. I'm like, oh shit, I'm supposed to do the show.
I have to be somewhere.
I'm supposed to be doing something.
Hi, Leslie. Hi, Christine.
Oh my God. Hi, everybody.
We're trying to get things organized here. I tell you, Mercury, right?
Yeah. It was funny. I was just kind of like, I wasn't shocked or anything. I was like, light bulb. Hello. It was so funny.
Somewhere doing something. Yeah.
Well, that's better than sitting there thinking about it like, am I forgetting something? That would be even worse. So how you doing?
Up and running. I'm good. I'm doing good. We got I think about a foot of snow.
Wow.
Yeah, my youngest was home for 2 days, and then of course next week he only has school for 3 days due to the holiday.
Right.
And the following week he only has school for 4 days. I told him, I'm like, you're really lucky, man. Ninth grade is just
Yeah.
a blast.
We only got it like.
How you doing? How was your checkup?
Oh, it went good. He said that to just try to do some more walking. I said, well, it's kind of hard to do when you got 8 inches of snow on the ground or ice or whatever. But yeah, nice. It feels good. It's all nice and tight. It's healing up right. I told him, sometimes there's a little bit of a pain, but he says that's just the scar tissue in there, and that there shouldn't be anything to worry about long term. I'm like, okay, I'm good with that. So now the sun came out and it got up to about 40, so it's not melted, but at least it's cleared out the roads and stuff enough. Hopefully it won't, get those slick spots where it freezes overnight for the commute in the morning. So we'll see.
Right.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, well, we are both traveling across the state.
Yeah, going in opposite directions.
I know. We're gonna just pass each other. But I'm hoping that by the time we do that, the roads will all be good.
Well, when you get over here, well, you're not coming this far to Pittsburgh, but I know that they've been taking pretty good care of the roads, so there shouldn't be any problems. No issues.
That's good.
Yeah, you should be good. What time are you heading out?
Early morning. Well, like 10. It's early for me.
No, that's mid-morning.
So, okay, mid-morning, around 10.
Wow, I'm going to be leaving really early. I'm going to leave at 8. That's like that's too early for you.
Oh, that's way too early. I mean, I can do it, but I'll be a zombie.
Yeah, no, I
And,
know.
yeah.
Gabriel, you didn't miss a whole lot. We're just talking about some of the stuff that's going on with roads and weather and travel plans and all that.
Stuff.
So you haven't missed anything yet, buddy. We're waiting for people to join on. Make sure everybody shares. Don't forget.
Yeah.
You know, we want to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about transitions because you know, with this, you know, the energy shifting and everything that we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks on Raw Light. We're going to stay with that theme, just a different, you know, different way of looking at it, I guess.
Right.
And you know, when it comes to, you know, the transitioning into your true self, and how this new moon into the full moon, how to handle it. Because last week we talked about, you know, the ascension symptoms that everybody's feeling and things like that. So what I think is really cool is that Serapis, when we talked the other day about this, came up with a kind of a different twist to that. And that's what we're gonna have her get into here eventually. But did you what kind of? I know you have to make notes and stuff. So what did you outline, my dear?
Well, I just made mental notes. But the thing that we really like has been driving home for me and for my clients, for the people that I talk to, is just being aware, being mindful, taking time to assess and to take stock. When we have these impulses and we have these feelings and we are having a struggle with our emotional stability, it means it needs some attention, right? And it needs some love and it needs some care. And
sure,
not to be afraid. That's a big one too, right? Not to be afraid.
Yeah, and you know, that's not an easy transition when you're not used to it, and then when you have to, you know, tell yourself to do it. You know, it's like Gabriel says, you know, then redirect. But it's you know, it's like realignment. You know, I love music, and there's a song by Godsmack, and it talks about realign. And if you read the lyrics, that's exactly what it's talking about: how to realign ourselves back to where we need to be. You know, so if you're in a fear-based mentality or mindset or perspective, then that's what you're going to get back, and that's what you have to realign and redirect to your true self and your higher self. And you know, I know for years, you know, since the 70s or 60s, that they've been talking about, you know, think positive and all that. I tried that in some of those books that I read, and it wasn't easy to do. But when you're able to say, you know what, if you can realign yourself by being grateful for things, that's what's really pushed me through. You know what I mean? Being grateful.
Well, and giving yourself a break too. I mean, when you're working on yourself and you're trying to understand your position in your experience and your connection to spirit and what it all means and how to get along and why are these things happening, and there's like, you know, you can get overwhelmed with all this stuff. And there is this expectation that, okay, if I think really positive and I do my daily exercise and I do my daily meditation and I do, you know, have my crystals, that I'll never feel bad again. And that's just not true. We're still human beings having a human experience, and there are still resonance that keeps us within this experience that we have to address, that we have to take a look at, and we have to have kindness for and say, oh, you know what? I am kind of a bitch today. And that's okay. Even as an evolved being, I can go, man, all right. You know,
okay, hey, thanks for the warning. I appreciate that. All right, I'll be good.
Let's talk about myself.
No, No, but that's true. I mean,
Yeah.
exactly. You have to really be more aware of what you're thinking and how you're feeling, and listen to your body. You know, it's that simple.
Hmm. And I love when you gave us permission last week to follow our impulses and the cravings that we're having. When our body
Yeah.
says, give me something, it is not out of I think a lot of times the diet industry tries to make it out like the only reason that you want a marshmallow is because you're a fat pig and you just always want to spend the rest of your days as a fat pig. And that's just not true.
Right.
That
Right.
marshmallow vibrates something in you. That marshmallow speaks to you about your childhood, about something that happened to you once, about a feeling that
Yeah.
you are either trying to seek clarity about or trying to come to resolution with or seeking to come into harmony with. Like I remember for me marshmallows being roasted over fire and how wonderful that sensation was to be surrounded by family in the dark, but to feel protected and safe.
Yep.
And I mean, when my body says marshmallow, I'm like, oh yeah, let me feel a marshmallow. That's awesome.
Yeah. Because I used to like, you know, because like what was neat was the people around the fire didn't, you know, if it caught on fire, they're like, oh, I don't want it. Give me another one. And I would take it. I would eat the burnt part, and then because I would pull it off, and then you get to the gooey center. Oh man,
Yeah.
hey, that was like the best, right? And they're like, oh wait, I want that. I was like, too late.
Snooze you lose.
But it's true. I mean, like, you know, when you're camping, that is a like a family tradition, either roasting marshmallows or having a s'more. You know, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
just having the melt, you know, everything melt between the graham crackers, you know,
Yeah.
and you're just like getting it all over you, and then you're licking it off your fingers, and everybody's laughing together, and yeah.
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
taking a positive emotion and you're feeding it to yourself literally, and
Right.
that is going to help release the dopamine within your own body that's going to get uplift you. So what is wrong with
Right.
that? You know what I
Right.
mean?
And then, of course, sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes there is a hurtful feeling there that
Mm-hmm.
wants to come forward, that wants you to find that touch back to it and say, "Remember me? Remember that feeling when you felt all alone and nobody loved you? Let's talk about that. Let's take a look at that. Let's love that feeling and give it some comfort so that we can move higher, so we can be clearer, so we can move forward and not be weighted down by these old wounds and traumas that have happened to us. And that just takes awareness, right? Paying attention to the
Yeah.
way that we're feeling. Why is my body asking for this? How does it make me feel when I give it to it? What are the recollections? And working through it as a process. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's not hard.
exactly. And that's it. Here's something I want to go back to what Max said here a minute ago. Where'd it go? Gabriel says he can brown a marshmallow perfectly.
Oh my goodness.
Max says never cut down a tree in wintertime. Never make a negative decision in the low time. Never make your most important decisions when you're in the worst moods. Wait and be patient. The storm will pass. And that's just it. Allow yourself, like Serapis is saying, to recognize if it's a not a good feeling. It's a good feeling because it's coming up and it's something that you need to look at and release. You know what I mean?
That's it. That's right. There's always a purpose, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I'm finding myself reminding clients almost daily. There's a reason. You feel this for a reason. It's because even whether it's anger or fear or anxiety, there is a purpose. That is a signal that is saying, hey, pay attention, let's take a look at this, let's understand this better. Because we want to be living our lives, we want to be driving our vehicle, we want to be moving ourselves um, purposefully rather than just kind of letting things happen to us and feeling bereft and under the whim of our emotions.
Right.
That's not how we're supposed to live, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's sort of like, okay, now I know you've experienced this. Like, say for instance, you get that old feeling that comes up and it's, you know, makes you sad or it makes you angry or something like that. Maybe somebody's wronged you somewhere in your life, in your past. But then how about like when you did deal with it, you did release it, at a later time that memory comes up and you're just like, oh yeah, I remember that. And it just like, it's okay. It doesn't bother you anymore, you know? Or you think of it and go, wow, I'm kind of glad that happened because it taught me this,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Well, and also, yeah, because you were talking the other day about our lives, you know, we're not on a straight line. I like to think of it as a spiral.
Sure.
And when you take control and you start actively participating in your life, the spiral goes up. And you will come around to those things. You will come around to the issues that have always been an issue because they're locked into your DNA and they're locked into your experience and they're locked into your vibration. However, you deal with them differently now that you've had training, now that you've had distance, now that you've had
Exactly.
closure, now that you've recognized what it is that you really are trying to deal with. So yeah, the issues will come up. Like I will forever have an abandonment issue. It's just a fact of life because of the way that I was raised. There will
Mm-hmm.
always be pieces of me that feel left behind.
Right.
And so now I have to recognize when I come back around, oh, there it is, and I see it, and I go, oh yeah, I see you.
Yeah, but see, here's the cool thing about there's always that one thing. It's sort of like, you know, in the Bible, Paul said, you know, I always have this thorn in my side. And I think it's a good thing because that is help what forms our personalities. Also, it helps us recognize those in pain, especially in that particular situation, because you can really connect with them to saying, you know, because I hate when people tell me, oh, I know how you feel. I never say that, or at least I try not to, but I say, you know, wow, I went through something similar to that. Would you like to know about it? And then just, you know, and explain it to them. And that helps. There's something relatable there too. And just in relating and listening, that's going to give them a little bit of relief and, you know, and ease into the situation, you know?
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. It helps you align with your purpose because I believe, you know, the trauma that we experience, particularly when we're young, is designed pre-birth by ourselves and our higher selves to help navigate us in the directions that we're supposed to give a signpost saying, here's where, you know, you're going to be focused most of your life. Here's where you're going to become a master.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Here's where you're going to be able to help others. And so it's just knowing that and paying attention to that and recognizing when those things come around. Oh yeah, I see you. I know who you are, old friend. And now, you know, I can sit down and have a cup of coffee with you rather than, you know, run away screaming.
Yeah, or wanting to sit down with a bottle, you know, or, you know, a large cake or a gallon of ice cream or, you know, whatever.
Right. The one thing that I always say to my clients, it's not what you're doing, it's why you're doing it. So, you know, it's not having a drink or a cigarette or, you know, sleeping around. Why are you doing those things? Are you doing them? Are you celebrating? Are you relaxing? Are you, you know, enjoying a certain aspect of your being?
Yeah.
Or are you running from something?
Yeah, and that's the hardest thing to do is to be really honest with yourself when you ask yourself that question. That's a big deal. But again, it's like you started out with. It's about being aware, you know. And like you said too, I wrote it down in my notes about, and that's how we wind up to, you know, change our perspective. And the change is that, you know, we embrace who we are, our true selves, but also the not so great part of who we are that was in the past. But you can't hold yourself to that like other people do. You know what I mean? You can't hold yourself to the past like everybody else does. I've had people, I was thinking about this just the other day, yesterday I think. I went to a cookout a few years ago, and there was a man there, and he was like treating me like trash, and I'm like, dude, what's your problem? And he says, well, you got into a fight with my brother when you were 15 and getting off the bus and blah, 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 and all this other stuff. And I'm like, dude, that was 40 years ago. What's your issue? Really? Oh my God. I laughed it off. He was pissed, but, you know, he was also drunk, which that was a problem with their family. that they were, constantly boozing it and, that kind of thing. But no, I just thought it was so funny. It's like some things you just have to let go, but other people will keep reminding you of it. Even though he doesn't know me, he didn't want to get to know me. I mean, these are some of the first words out of his mouth. But I don't care what the guy thinks or what he says about me because he doesn't know me. What somebody else says about me is none of my business. And that's the attitude we have to take. Therefore, don't hold on to the past. Don't let other people beat you up over it. And don't you beat yourself up over it. Change your perspective. Look at what you're looking at now. And that's how you're going to wind up having that clearer vision of embracing and who you are and who you are in this moment. I read something just yesterday as well, or maybe it was this morning. If you're going to beat yourself up about how far you have to go to reach a goal, instead, this is when you want to look in the past and see how far you've come. That's the one time you want to look at the past.
Yeah, to recognize the progress that you've already made.
Sure.
Yeah, which is something else that comes up a lot with people because you get, I use that analogy a lot when you're swimming across the ocean. You're stuck out there in the middle of the ocean. You can't see either side. You're in the middle of it, and it's like, oh my God, I don't know how far I've come. But if you can raise up, take a helicopter up and see, you're almost there.
Right.
You've already come more than halfway. You just got to, keep going and recognize I'm almost there. And this is not for nothing, and it is working and happening. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's being patient. When we talk about being in the flow, that's a great analogy about being in the middle of the ocean because there's two ways that you can move in the ocean. One is with the current, the natural currents that go on. And if you ever notice the current, they're not always straight either. They're also spiral. But you can also do the same thing with the wind, with a sailboat. I don't know how to sail, but if you think about the movie Castaway and he's got this sail up and before it blows down in a storm, there's the two ways that you're in the flow. You're eventually going to get to where you're going. You just have to be patient and literally enjoy the journey. And that was the hardest thing for me to get through to my head. You know what I mean? But now it's just like, all right, it is, it is what it is and it's going to be fine. And I guess because I've gotten to that point, then I come across, differently to some people and they're kind of like, wow, you're really laid back. I'm like, if you would have known me even 5 years ago, you never would have said that, ever. I got to share this. I've said it one other time, and this is funny because this was just last year. So even I've gotten better, but even last fall, coming back from the Mum Expo, and Ann and my daughter Samantha were in the car with me, and it was getting late. And we were talking about different spiritual things and, me and how I'm progressing and stuff, which was really nice to hear from them. It was encouraging. And I said, yeah, but, sometimes I think I expect, I expect this or that to happen or whatever to get further along. And, and my daughter says, well, Dad, it's all about patience. And I'm like, you know what? My guides were telling me the same thing. And in all honesty, I don't like you or my guides right now. I want it now. Of course, I was kidding, but...
Yeah. No, I hear you. It's tough when, it is a double-edged sword because on the one hand, it's nice that I can check in with my spirit guides and they can be so affirming and say, this is absolutely, definitely happening for you and trust us and keep following us and we will make this for you. And I'll be, okay, all right, that's great. And it sounds like a wonderful thing.
Right.
But the thing is when they're like, it's almost happening and then 2 years later, it's still almost happening. It's like, come on, guys.
I know. It's like, excuse me, can you just narrow it down on my timeline so I have an idea here? Yeah.
But they have always fulfilled on all the things they've told me are coming to pass. So now when they say it's soon, I'm like, okay, I'll wait. We'll see. I'll talk to you in another 3 years. We'll see.
Right. Or when they're sitting there telling you something You know, yeah, I like it when they give you the affirmations and stuff, but then all of a sudden they come back and say, all right, so you really need to work on this, you know, and I'm like, did I ask you? Really? I don't want to hear this right now. I was
Right.
working on this. I'm doing really good. I don't want to work on this
But
yet.
my ego wants this over here.
Yeah.
Why are you pulling me over there? My ego wants over here.
They got a good sense of humor, though. Yeah.
Yes, they do. They do. I think that's the thing that non-spiritually connected people find the most surprising is how humorous spirit can be, how
Yeah.
absurd and funny. The messages, the images, the tones that they sometimes bring forward, it is just, I love it. I mean, I think it's great. I think it's important that we keep a sense of humor, you know, and obviously they do too.
Yeah. Well, okay. Here's another example from today, since you're talking about humor. Okay. Because when I pulled into the parking lot at the hospital to go to my doctor's appointment, I there's this woman walking in front of a line of cars, and I'm coming up behind her, and then all of a sudden, like the way she wore her hair, and it was blonde, and her silhouette, even the types of clothes that she had on, she was definitely a businesswoman, reminded me, I mean, just an instant flashback to someone that I dated in Harrisburg clear back in 2009. And, you know, somebody that I was like, I mean, head over heels for, right? But it didn't end so well. And I have to be honest, there was a second look going like, holy shit, that's Vicky. And, you know, I actually sped up. She thought I was going to probably run her over or something. I wanted to get a look at her face. I was like, oh, okay, it's not her, thank God. And then I thought about it later. It's like, okay, is this some kind of a joke? Are you doing this just to like why? I still don't know why they did it. I really don't. But it was kind of like that was just too bizarre. I mean, she could have been her twin. Seriously, it just blew me away. But it was kind of funny at the same time, you know. So yeah, they can throw some shit at you that you're completely not expecting.
Yeah, yeah. I think the funniest thing for me was I was out hiking and it was a rough course and I was having a hard time. I was struggling getting up this mountain and all of a sudden there was a spirit in front of me and it was a naked man.
Seems
And
to be
he
a
was in
theme
front of
with
me
you.
walking away and he's like smacking his butt at me and he's like, come on, follow the butt. Follow the butt. This is what's motivating me. A half naked man in the middle of the woods. Okay.
Well, that's probably the way you really want it, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotta be absurd. Yes.
I'd rather run across a naked person in the woods than the way I did it. I was climbing up a mountain. Well, a mountain. It's called Mount Scott in Oklahoma. And there's it literally, the road goes around, you know, all the way up to the top. But I decided, me and a buddy of mine, we were going to race and climb it. Our third buddy took my van and drove it up to the top. I had a big Chevy van and everything. But so he went one way. Oh, I know what he did because he's a great runner. He actually ran the road, and I said that I could climb it and reach the top first. And I don't remember who actually won that. I think Rob did. But it was a nice spring day, and of course the rocks are starting to get kind of warm. I go in between these two rocks, the only place I could really go through, and I take one step between the rocks, and there's a rattlesnake sunning itself on a flat rock. And you know the old saying, when your heart skips a beat? That's the God's honest truth, because I swear it did. And I froze like a statue. And, you know, it was like, okay, I'm not supposed to go that way. I don't need any more warnings like that, not to go a certain way, but, you know, to have, because it didn't move, but that rattle just went, and it's so distinct, and when you hear it.
Yes. I have been around a rattler and know what they sound like. But you know, what's interesting is I lived out in Oklahoma for a while. I lived out in Oklahoma City for a couple years ago.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Back in 1997. That's where I met my kid's father. Was out in Oklahoma.
Oh,
So
okay.
I think that's interesting. Another connection there, right?
Yep, yep. Oh, I've been all over the place though. That's nothing new. But yeah, it's a nice state. The thing I liked about living out there was you're kind of in the middle of everything and not that far from like Dallas. So I used to take trips down to Dallas. They have some great concerts and car shows and stuff down there. But I was stationed out there for like almost 3 years, you know. But it had because I think it's Geronimo that's actually buried there at Fort Sill. And, you know, there's an artillery thing. It was a post for the West, you know, Wild Wild West back years ago and all that stuff. So it was cool, you know. It was educational in itself, but what was really neat was they also had a wildlife preserve out there by Mount Scott. And they had buffalo that, you know, back when you had the cameras that, you know, you used to buy in the stores that you had to get. You took the pictures and handed it in the whole camera to get the pictures back.
Disposable ones, yeah.
Well, Rob, my buddy, was with me, and I decided I wanted to get a close-up of a buffalo, but I didn't know it was a bull. And while I get really close, you know, and I'm like scooching down, and Rob says, "Okay, I'm out of here, buddy," and he starts backing up. And then all of a sudden, it started snooting, and then there goes the paw and everything else. And you never seen a guy back up so slow in your life. But they had all sorts. Oh, and then there was Prairie Dog Town out there. They had it marked off so you couldn't go in, but there must have been 200 or 300 prairie dogs, and they would pop up out of their holes and stuff. So it was pretty cool. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I found it too hot and too dry, and not enough trees. You know, having grown up in Pennsylvania, I was
Right.
where all my trees.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I remember one time they closed down the whole base because it was 102. Humidity was like 78%, if I remember right, and there was no air. And it was miserable. But that was part of my transition that I had to go through. See, I brought that back to the discussion.
I was wondering, how are we getting back?
Hey, I'm a pro. So, yes, but it was my transition from being around the military all my life, getting some type of discipline that I already had but thought I needed, but learning more. And one of the things I was telling Dr. Ella about this, that I remember when I was there, that I kept on thinking about, okay, I have my CDL, I'm old enough now to, you know, because you had to be a certain age to apply to go over the road back in the 80s. And I was like, okay, so now when I get out, everything's going to be fine. And then I started daydreaming about how cool would it be to have my own truck and do this and do that. And in less than 3 years, I accomplished that goal after I got out of the service. You know, I got a job with a good company, ran for them 2 years, and then got an opportunity to start part-time with another company. It was literally a leap of faith. And then with them, that's how I bought my first truck. So it's all about these transitions. And if I was able to do that and bring into my life my dreams and desires of owning my own truck and not having a clue of being awakened or enlightened like we are now, what more can we create? You know?
Yeah. Because that's the thing, we are constantly creating and manifesting and affecting the world around us. It's just most people do it unconsciously. They do it subconsciously. And
right.
So they aren't able to really direct themselves. And that's where people like you and I come in, where, you know, we've gone through the experiences that helped us to refine ourselves, so that we can now help others refine and understand, you know, exactly how they need to direct themselves to get where it is they want to go and do the things that they want to do.
Right. So that's a good thing for all you guys listening, is that I want you to think about what type of transitions, this is a good reason to look into the past. What kind of transitions have you made? What's the differences that you've made in steps, and of growth forward? And before you were even awakened or enlightened to what Serapis and I are talking about. And you're going to be able to see that, like I just said from my own example, that if you can do it then, you can become a deliberate creator now. You can have deliberate thought and perception, Jesus, of, how you want things to be in your world and in your life, your immediate world.
Right.
As long as you don't.
That's something that Mercury can actually help you with. Because when Mercury goes
Right.
retrograde, it helps us to look inward and it helps us to look back. It helps us to understand the things that have happened to us and how we can shift things so that when it's ready to go forward again, we have that perspective of better understanding of exactly where we need to be pointed.
Right. Now, with that said, there's something else that you mentioned while we were chatting to get ready for this yesterday was you said about the shedding of the cocoon. So how would you, with what you just got done saying, how would you incorporate that into it? Because you can use Mercury retrograde to go back and see yourself and see your past, which is a part of your cocoon. But how do you, go through that metamorphosis of allowing that cocoon to break free to become a new creature, a new butterfly?
It's hard because it takes trust and it takes faith, right? Because you have to think about it. When you're in this self-reflective period, when you're in this healing period, you are cocooned. You are looking inward and identifying where you want to make shifts and how you want to be different. And then have that courage to come out and to be a different person, to explore a new way of being, it can be really challenging. And that's why, I don't know about you, but I couldn't have done it without the teachers and the mentors and the healers that I work with that were there to hold my hand.
Yeah.
And were there to help me, because there are going to be days when you're just a puddle of tears, and there are going to be times when your body hurts, and there's going to be times when situations arise that make you feel like, oh no, oh my God, I'm right back where I started, and I haven't changed at all. And having a support system that can enable you to recognize the changes that you have made, to recognize, okay, no, this is just an affirmation of how much I have changed, of how much further I have come, and being able to trust that as that. Because you think about, when I think about the cocoon, I also think about the process of having a cast taken off. And it hurts and it's uncomfortable, and that skin feels so weird and so sensitive because it hasn't been out in exposure for a while. And your being will feel like that. And you need to have care for yourself, make sure you're getting enough sleep, enough water, enough good company, enough good people around you. And it is a process to gather all the things that you need, including healers and time, patience, right? Boy, that's a good one. We were talking about that earlier. Having that patience, trusting that, even though you've been working on this for a really long time, there's still more to go. And that can be hard sometimes. But it is so worth it. It is so completely worth it. Every tear, every heartache, every pain, it's worth it.
I think so too. And something else that I noticed is and I want to say hi to everybody because everybody's saying hi. So hi to Marjorie and Amy and Gabriel and Stacy and Arlene and everybody. But yeah, so many times we go through these transitions that we don't have enough patience with ourselves, I think, and we just have to relax and just allow that process of emotion. But what I keep getting for myself is that, it seems like it's a bitch and it's a long, road to hoe kind of thing, but it's like you get to a certain part and then all of a sudden you're kind of like, before you have to tackle something else, there's this reprieve, this breather that's like, Oh yeah, okay, cool, we're good, you know. And then it's
And a
right.
lot of that, at least for me, it's not quite seasonal, but it is definitely reflected in the moon and in the celestial events. There are certain times when it is more quiet, when it
Right.
is more just taking it easy for a minute before you push forward again. I mean, we're coming up. That's the thing. We're coming up on another pushing time. Because at the end of the month, we have a full moon. We're in Aries right now. The moon is in Aries, and we're moving into a much more active time, fire, much more, the spring is here, things are waking up. And I know, that's really interesting because this is reminding me now that my friend was, the last time we were on together, she was saying to me, don't forget, I live in Australia. My seasons are different than yours. So, okay, so it's fall in certain areas, right? We're moving into fall down, hi, Lesha, down in Australia. Um, but it is a shifting of the energies because of the way Mercury's going to be in retrograde, helping us to look at things and observe things and understand ourselves better. And Aries is going to be pushing us to act. And all of the moons and the healing energy that has been, I mean, the solar flare that were happening earlier, it was just like so insane.
Yeah.
These are all pushing us to heal ourselves, to move ourselves in a direction so that we're ready to go and to make things happen. And it's coming up very soon where we're going to be running.
What?
And we're going to be doing our little brains out. Right? So we want to take advantage of this time where we have still a little bit of a kind of a chill period right now. Things are starting to ramp up, and we want to prepare ourselves by using the Mercury energy that's giving us reflection to, all right, now what is it that I really need to be ready to look at? What is it that I need to be ready to move on? What is it that I need to be ready to make happen?
Right, right.
Because it's coming, and it'll be coming quick.
Well, from what you just said, I'm sure that Amy Lynn's probably not super happy because she just wrote, I missed the beginning of today's topic. You can always go back and check that out, but also it's on YouTube, Amy. But she said, when is this phase supposed to change and the pain and uncomfortable emotions going to end? Actually, we're talking about some of that, and one of the ways that the emotions can end is how you perceive it and how you perceive yourself and how you can make that transition into a completely different perspective. We even talked about it with Pam on Tuesday night about looking at it as a learning experience that's needed. That, I keep saying it, you can't have light without darkness. You have to go through these growing and learning periods. And like I just got done saying, I don't know if you heard it, Amy, but you do go through these things, and then there's this periods in which, you know, and sometimes it might seem like it's a long time, but then it comes to the point where spirit's like, you know what? Now we're going to give you a break. Just take a breather, enjoy, nurture yourself, learn to fly, first love yourself, these kind of things. All these things that I've been teaching, for so long, and we all teach, we all talk about that. We have to nurture ourselves. We can't keep beating ourselves up because first of all, it's just downright stupid. Because that's shit that we have learned from other people that beat themselves up. You know what I mean? And there's no need for it. That's gotten them nowhere. How many people do you know of that in their entire life they all have the same perspective and the same perception and the same view of themselves, and they're miserable? Well, Einstein, I believe it was Einstein that said, if you expect a different result, you can't keep thinking the same thing over and over again. So you have the choice, that you can change it for yourself, and it's completely up to you. You can do whatever you want to do.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And I think that I don't know. It is challenging because when I look at from as a personal, as an individual who believes firmly in free will and self actualization, yes, people can completely and totally choose to stay stuck. They can choose to stay in their self.
Right, right.
But from a more objective perspective, when I connect with my guides, when I take a look at what's happening in the cosmos, when I feel on an energetic and a psychic level what's occurring on our planet, I know that it is going to become more and more and more difficult for people to choose to stay asleep, for people to choose to stay zoned out. It's going to be really, really difficult.
But at the same time, it's going to be even more simple. You know, it's going to be an easier process for us to do that releasing and only stay in it for you know, a certain amount of time. It's sort of like when you're driving down the road and somebody cuts you off, and you know you get pissed off at them. You know, I used to be the kind. I was a truck driver, right? So I could hold on to that stuff for hours, right? Now it's just like, you know, what a dipshit, you idiot. And then the next minute I'm listening to a song and singing, because it's like, all right, whatever, you know. But speaking of Mercury retrograde and some of the other stuff, that you talk about an eventful day. I don't know if anybody's seen my post, but this goes perfect with what we're talking about, and how you can change yourself and your own choices. There was a guy in a black pickup truck that followed me up the street and turned around, because we have it's a Y section. It's a three-way intersection. I always turn around there and I turn in, and because it's so close and everything's tight here, I always put two wheels up on the sidewalk and back up, you know, not the whole sidewalk. And then my back end of my car is against a telephone pole. This genius decides he wants to come in and park right in front of me, to where I can't even walk between the vehicles, in front of a garage door, and there's 10 to 12 feet ahead of him where a car would normally park. And so I just kind of shook my head. I had some groceries I had to get them in, you know. So I put them away, and I go out there and I take the picture and I posted it. And I'm sure people thought I was mad, but I wasn't, because I just started thinking about it. It's like, I just started laughing. Like, did you feel like you had to do that because of why? You know, what was your whole thing? Because I had my door open, taking my bags out on the, you know, on the street side, and you couldn't hurry up and park. Are you in that much of a hurry? You know, what's the screwed up mentality of this person that they had to do that to try to prove a point or try to control me? You know what I'm saying? Because that's basically all that is. That's the only reason people do that kind of thing. And I just started laughing about it. You know, it's like, now before it used to piss me off, but that's what I'm saying. You can change your perspective about things. Think about, like I'm saying, why would anybody do that other than to try to be, you know, boast like, oh, I got the better of you, buddy. No, I got the better because I didn't have to go anywhere. I was home for the day. I'm good. You're right, Serena. That was a major asshole move. And if you look at my post I put on there, because here in Western Pennsylvania, there's a term for incomprehensible and utterly idiotic people. It's called a jagoff. And he definitely fits that definition here in Pittsburgh.
I haven't heard that in a long time, jagoff. Oh my goodness.
You know what's even funnier? You remember back in the, like, I guess it was the 70s or 80s, when they had like a picture of something, like a silhouette of something, and then the round circle with one red slash through it. In other words, you know, no something. There was a business, I mean, a very nice business. I think it was like a HVAC company. And on the very back of their vans was a big red circle with a slash through it, and the word inside was Jagoff. I'm like, that's a pretty good marketing strategy. That's going to get people to look at your van. I got a white car. Maybe I should put that on all four corners. What do you think?
Oh, that's funny.
But see, that's just it. It is funny. It can either make you angry or you can laugh at it. Or somewhere in between.
And the energies are supporting us in making choices that elevate our compassion and promote us getting along. I mean, the whole reason why there's such a push now for authenticity is because we're supposed to be more true to each other. We're supposed to be, I was thinking about this. We live in a culture where when someone shares their story, they're called brave and courageous. And it's like we should be sharing our stories with each other on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And this whole idea that being honest and genuine is something to be afraid of is part of what keeps us isolated, part of what keeps us disconnected from each other. And now there's this big push to make us connect with each other and to make us be more authentic with each other and genuine to each other, because that's the only way we're going to move forward.
Right. Yeah, and I think it just takes a little bit of understanding to see where these people are coming from, instead of being upset with them like this guy. Is more of an understanding that, he must have had a really rough day, and just wanted to feel better about himself. And that when people are ugly towards you, that's normally what they're doing. They're trying to do something to make themselves feel better about themselves. And in all honesty, they don't know how. And I have compassion for those people because they're miserable. And I used to be one of them. You know what I'm saying? And that's just completely honest. So, have a little bit of understanding. Learn how to forgive people, even if you don't feel like it in the minute, because later on you might gain that understanding of like, wow, I get it. I've done stupid shit like that too. And admit it to yourself. You know what I mean? That's just it. That's what, we were saying in the beginning of the show about that different perspective, but also embracing your true self. Look at yourself the way you were and the way you are and the way you're going to be. But, look, I'm a middle-aged guy and I have long hair. My teeth ain't perfect. I'm not highly educated as far as like Ivy League schools or anything. But you know what? I like me. I'm okay with me. And
I like you too.
Thanks. I like you too. But that's just it. Like it's about liking yourself and where you're at in this journey, and how you look and stuff. Sure, if you want to lose a few pounds, that's great. If you want to color your hair, that's great. If you think about, I'm going to go get, liposuction and all this other stuff, or I'm going to have plastic surgery to change my looks, that's when you might want to think about, okay, that's a little extreme and you're not accepting yourself for who you are. There's nothing wrong in bettering yourself, but to what extreme are you going to do that? Look, God created you just as you are, which makes you very unique and special. So, in all honesty, why would you want to change? There's a lot of people that love you just the way you are. Besides that, have you ever seen these women that get the surgery? They look at, what was her name? The comedian that died. Joan.
Right.
Joan Rivers.
Joan Rivers. Mm-hmm.
They didn't have to worry about embalming her because her face never moved. I'm sorry. She just, she had a Halloween mask on.
She was in on that joke, definitely.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. See, I can say that because she said it. I'm not being mean.
That's great.
Oh my God. Oh. So is there any last thoughts or anything you want to say? Because we're closing in on an hour here. I don't want to keep you, because the last time you were on, you were talking about how tired you were, and I don't want to hear any bitching and moaning later about this, especially when you have to drive tomorrow.
No, I'm not driving tomorrow. I'm driving on Saturday.
Oh, okay. All right, you got a road trip. All right.
So I can recover from our long and arduous
Arduous, really?
live video gaming.
Seriously? I have to put you in 15-minute increments from now on.
I'm teasing. No, this has been delightful, really. I'm enjoying our conversation. Let's see. Do I have any final thoughts? Be nice. Be nice to yourself. Be nice to the people around you. Be nice to the people you don't like. Be nice to just be nice. I think that is such a big thing that is missing in so many people's life today is just niceness. And once you start, because that's a relaxing, that's an accepting, right? And that's a compassionate way to release tension, and it helps you shift your perspective, helps you better understand yourself and what's happening, and learn from your experiences and grow from your experiences and become. Here's the other thing we were talking about too, right? Becoming that elevated self, becoming that higher spiritual being. Doesn't mean that you don't curse. Doesn't mean that you give up alcohol. It doesn't mean that you're always going to be perfect all the time. You know, you're still going to have days, because everybody does. That's part of being a human being.
Yeah, because most of the time, those people that are the perfect people are the ones that are fake anyway.
Right. And that's a lot of pressure. That is a lot of pressure to be perfect all the time. It's a huge amount of pressure. So give yourself a break. And yeah, some days you're going to be a little bitchier than other, and some days you're going to park stupid, right? Because that's just how it is.
Right. Hey, and not only that, it's like, you know, in all honesty, I am perfect at being me. And you know what I mean? Everybody should be perfect. But what Serapis also said too, I thought about this, you know, about being nice to other people. You can pretty much measure on a scale how nice you are to people is a mirror object of how nice you are to yourself.
Yeah.
Think about that. Think about that.
Yeah. And that's something that I have to remind people a lot of, is to be nice to themselves. Because a lot of people don't know how to do it.
Right.
You know, they're tough love on themselves, and I have, you know, these expectations that I have to get to, and no, man, be nice to yourself.
Yeah, why not? You know, and a lot of times though the people aren't. I know, but the reason people aren't nice to themselves is because they weren't treated nice either. You know, and growing up, you know, look at the whole. I don't want to go down a bad way here, but look at the whole school situation now. You know, and it's because people aren't being nice to people. The teachers aren't being nice to the kids. Kids aren't being nice to the kids. You know, other kids and all this other stuff. Yeah. But where do they learn it from? You know, they learn it from everybody around them. You know, whether it's there at the school or at home or even within their own extended family. My God, how many families, you know, are being nice to one another? Very few, you know. So think about that tonight and maybe tomorrow or over the weekend. Think about yourself as how nice am I to other people. Take notice, be aware of that, and then kind of reflect back as like, am I being nice to myself? You know, how am I doing this? What can I do to nurture myself and be more loving and accepting of myself as I am? Then you can say, okay, what kind of improvements do I want to make in my life? Do I want to lose that 10 or 15 pounds? You know, do I want to change my hair color? Do I want another relationship because this isn't healthy for me? You know?
That's the thing. When we're having pain, when we are having emotional turmoil, it is a signpost. It is a warning signal that there is something wrong. And a lot of the time in today's society, what is wrong is the relationships that you are in are unhealthy. And people are choosing to stay in unhealthy relationships because they feel obligated to, because they feel like there's no other options. and they've never been told how to negotiate for themselves and on their own behalf to have healthier relationships. So,
Yeah.
when you're
Yeah.
feeling overly stressed out all the time, that's because there's something broken in your life, right? When they talk about depression being something broken in your brain, it's not something broken in your brain. It's something broken in your life that
Right.
your brain is trying to process and handle and deal with. And what you really need to do is take a look at where do I need to make changes to be able to get to the point so that my brain's not feeling like it needs to be broken all the time.
Right. Okay, now tell me if you agree with this, because how many times are we in, come across people that are in situations, they're at a job that they don't like, or they're in a relationship that they don't like. We'll take those two as an example. And they want to get out of the relationship, or they want to go and find a new job. Here's the thing. Are you putting everything into that job or into that relationship to make it better, or do you just want to escape? Because when you leave that job or that relationship, you still take you with you.
That's right.
So
where?
Yeah, you have to do that self-examination. Yeah, exactly. You have to really.
Yeah, sometimes there's something going on in us that we brought with us into this life, or that came out of a traumatic experience when we were a child. That is why we feel obligated to stay in certain relationships or engage in certain ways, and then it just blossoms from there and snowballs. And then we go, oh, the problem is the snowball. Well, no, the problem is the thing at the core of the snowball.
Right. Right. Yeah. And that's what you have to figure out.
If you're not willing to do the work, right? It takes a lot of work to be healthy. It's hard.
Yeah.
Pay attention to the way that you interact with people and words that you use and the thoughts that you think. It's exhausting. It's a full-time job. But like anything, it becomes a habit. It becomes second nature. It becomes easier the more you do it and the more you bring yourself back to that alignment and say, no, this is really what I want to do. This is really where I want to be. This is really who I want to be. This better reflection of myself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we could probably go on for another hour just talking about that, because it's really a deep subject, and how you can, the different avenues and things that you have to look at about yourself and your surroundings and your boundaries, what's healthy, what's not healthy, and so on. So yeah, we could probably cover another hour on that easy, but yeah, we're an hour and 3 minutes into it, so we should probably get going for this time. I appreciate you very much for coming on. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
I know you got a lot on your.
Me.
Yeah, I know you got a lot on your plate and stuff, and that's cool. It's always nice having you and Pam on. I've invited some other people too, and so, I'd just like to keep rotating and have you guys come back every so often, especially when it comes to this stuff, because everybody has their own way. For you, it's astrology. You're mentioning about, the full moon or Mercury going in Aries and all that stuff. That's not my expertise. That's yours. And that's what I like to share, on Raw Light, because I don't want to sound too much like an idiot,
Oh, come on. It's fun when you sound like an idiot, John.
That's true. It is, yeah. I'm going to be nice. I'm not going to break out my fart gun.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Oh my God. Marjorie's like, oh no. Gabriel wants to know if we can do a healing. Well, what kind of healing would you like? Because you know what? Gabriel, get a hold of me, and let's discuss that topic, because we can do some drumming and stuff, and we'll see who we can get on to help with that, and so on and so forth. But I'd just like to end, because I do have to travel tomorrow. I still got to grab some things and throw them together and everything, but I wanted to make sure we got this out, because I felt it was, an important topic. Meditation and chakra. Okay, yeah, you know what? Remind me of that over the weekend as I'm driving back. Or maybe, you know what? Maybe if you remind me, because I'll be with Marjorie and Lee and Well, I know definitely those two, but maybe we could do something like that and post it, over the weekend as a video, just the three of us doing something in their home. I think that might be a little bit of fun. That might be kind of
yeah.
cool, and just throw that up, as an extra. Any final words?
Thank you. I love you.
Oh, I love you too. Hey, if
I
you're
love everybody who's joined us, and I really appreciate the positive affirmations and attention, and be good to each other.
Yes, yes, definitely. All right, thank you, you guys. Dare to dream. Just take in the energy. There's a big energy push. There's another big energy wave that we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks that's coming. This is going to be full disclosure this year. Some people are saying it's coming in 3 waves. Some say it'll be 2 smaller ones and a major one or whatever. That's kind of what I'm feeling. I've been talking to different people about it, but it's coming. It is this year. And there's no specific dates. It's already beginning. So you know what? You guys just hang on for the ride, just like on a roller coaster. You're going to be scared and you might feel a little queasy, but it's all going to be worth it in the end. All right? So Seraphis, love you. Thank you so much.
Love you. Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.